So I only read the book to be more informed when I watched the movies, but it seemed like I lost a couple IQ points. But first, this is Clips and Coffee. Hello friends, my name is Alicia and welcome to another video. Just to clarify, I'm not saying that the book is dumb.
I'm saying I'm dumb.
But honestly, it's an interesting read. I saw this video on TikTok and it said, Dune is written like you should have already read Dune, and I could not support that statement anymore. I don't even know what I was going for. I think I wanted to go for like something cute and I ended up looking like a farmer. I thought I ate. I really thought I ate. Give me that plate.
You really thought you ate?
Today we will be reviewing the new Dune movie directed by
Denis Villeneuve.
I'm gonna say his last name quite a few times and it's gonna sound uncomfortable, but bear with me. So I'm going to be reviewing the video, comparing it to the source material, and also comparing it to the 1984 adaptation of Dune directed by David Lynch. Yes, this David Lynch, and this David Lynch, and this David Lynch directed this. Obviously, one Dune is a commercial flop and the other one is probably a visual masterpiece. So I decided to, review both of them by comparing each other based on these specific categories. Those categories are book accuracy, cinematography, characters,
Paul's Dreaminess,
direction, music, and effects. So my intention was to read Dune by Frank Herbert, but read just the first book, which is essentially the first 255 pages, I believe, because I watched this YouTuber Karsten and he said that that's essentially what you need to read in order to be informed for the 2021 adaptation. The plan was to watch the 1984, read the book, at least the first book, and then go into the movie. Unfortunately, that week was overtaken by a work trip and my friend visiting, so I was only able to read the first 52 pages.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep this category short and concise. Actually, just take this category with a grain of salt.
the rainiest salt, actually.
From what I read in the first 52 pages was that both directors, as most script writers do, took liberty with the source material that I feel worked for each film respectively. For example, one of the only examples I can give you, the scene in the book where Paul was visited by Thufir and then had dialogue and then was visited by Gurney, had a little bit of dialogue, and then that combat scene was changed a little bit with both of these films. In the 1984 adaptation, Paul was visited by Thufir, Gurney, and Dr. Yue all at the same time, and they had their dialogue/combat scene. In the 2021 version, Paul was simply visited by Gurney himself, had dialogue, and then the combat scene. The reason why I feel like both of these work was because I feel like they both worked for their times. In the 80s, it was all about silly, fun, crazy antics that I feel like all three characters added to enhance that aspect of the film. Now today, we like simplicity. Having too many people on screen or having someone come in the same shot back to back after each other can come off a bit cheesy. So I feel like just having Gurney be the one talking to Paul in the training room actually was a pretty good choice for the simplification of 2021. Now I will say that I think the 2021 Dune did fumble the bag a bit with one of their characters, but I'll get into detail into that when we get to the characters category. Like I said, I can't say much about book accuracy, seeing as how I didn't really
Read the book.
So I'm gonna give the point to Maclachlan and Chalamet. When it comes to cinematography in Dune, there is no one touching Villeneuve.
Oui, baguette.
And it was kind of expected when you look at his previous works and how beautiful they looked. The establishing shots of this film is just beautiful. The way that he allows you to see the world and immerses you into these universes is just so enhanced by the way that he uses the camera work. I'm crying. I'm actually crying. Where's my tissue? It also doesn't help that Lynch's Dune just did not seem interested in cinematography. It felt like he was more invested in his characters more than establishing the world that we're in, which isn't inherently bad. It just doesn't allow me to be immersed in the world that he's trying to create. And I'm not going to give the excuse that it was the 80s, because in the 70s we had this shot. Okay? Like, dog, you had a beautiful example. How did you let it slip through your fingers?
I let them slip through my fingers.
You could have told me that Dune was on Tatooine instead of Arrakis, and I would have been like, cool, sure. So we're giving this to Chalamet. With my limited knowledge of the original source material, I'm relying heavily on the establishment of the characters in the beginning of the books. So I'm just gonna go in no particular order. Duncan. Okay, although I thought Jason Momoa did a great job at, playing Duncan, I honestly prefer Richard Jordan's performance, even with the limited amount of time that we had with him. I just feel like I had a little bit more fun. He just seemed more confident. And I don't know, he just gave me the energy that he was a swordsman. I will say that Jason Momoa was Duncan, Idaho. It gave me the more combative skills that, I wanted to see in the swordsman. But I think that is mostly due to the direction, and
We'll get to that in the next category.
okay, I'm just gonna skip through because both kings gave me nothing. Okay, I'm not gonna say nothing, but I feel like neither of them were really developed more than just the Mentat. I think that's what they are, like the robot that they are. They didn't really do much, so cool. Duke Leto. Now this is almost unfair due to the tremendous astronomical adoration I have for Oscar Isaac, but I'm gonna do my best. Without being biased, hopefully, I'm going to go ahead and say that I prefer Oscar Isaac's Duke Leto. Now, I do feel like, I'm gonna butcher his name, Jürgen Prochnow.
Jürgen Prochnow.
I don't think we were given much of an opportunity to see his personality besides his Dukeness. Oscar Isaac's version allowed us to see something deeper than just his title. We saw him be a father. We saw him be a leader. We saw him be a suitor for a concubine.
Not my words, y'all.
I personally prefer Oscar Isaac's performance. Baron Harkonnen. Okay, so when I first watched the 1984 version, they said Harkonnen, but then in the 2021 version, they say Harkonnen, and so I had to look up what the correct pronunciation was, and apparently Frank's initial pronunciation was Harkonnen, so hopefully that's what I said. When I say Kenneth McMillan put his foot in that character, not only did I find his character menacing and revolting, but also charming. I feel like he kept me engaged whenever he was on screen, whereas Stellan Skarsgård was Stellan Skarsgård. His rendition reminded me of Bootstrap Bill from Pirates of the Caribbean. Do you guys say Caribbean or Caribbean? Because when I'm naturally saying Caribbean, I say Caribbean, but when I'm saying the title, I say Caribbean. Anyway, obviously he's a great actor, and I feel like his character was menacing as well, but I just feel like I was more engaged and more entertained when I was looking at Kenneth Gurney. Now, I honestly felt like Josh Brolin thought he was back in Sin City. It's not to say his performance was bad, I just felt like he gave action when we were in adventure. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me. Obviously, Patrick Stewart can do no wrong in my eyes, but I do think that his version was a little softer than I would like to see it, especially since we're looking at a warrior. But I believe Gurney was supposed to be this poet lyricist, but does this look like a poet lyricist to you? Here's where we get to the fun, maybe controversial part. I don't think this first one is controversial, but the way that the 2021 Dune underdeveloped Dr. Yue is
Criminal.
Not only does he have an engaging backstory, but it also lends to us understanding his decisions well into the movie. I think the 1984 Dune did a better job of developing Dr. Yue, and he was on screen a little bit more, which is why I feel like Dean Stockwell's performance is preferential to me. Okay, this is where we get controversial because I've seen the opposite of my opinion. I prefer Francesca Annis's version of Jessica more than Rebecca Ferguson's. Don't shoot!
Don't shoot!
I'm black, don't shoot.
I personally felt like when I was reading Jessica, that Jessica's more of a powerful but timid person. She is a part of the Bene Gesserit, but she reports to someone above her. When the Queen Mother comes on scene in Caladan, Jessica becomes a little more timid, also worried about her son. Like, I think Rebecca did beautiful. Her performance was beautiful, emotion-invoking,
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping.
vulnerable, but maybe a little too vulnerable for me. Now, I'm not saying that vulnerability is the opposite of power, because if that was the case, I would need to be attached to a defibrillator at all times, especially when I see the elderly walking across the street.
Oh my god.
But I just rarely saw Jessica in the 2021 version with her head held high besides the end, so that's why I just prefer Francesca's version. Now, the man of the hour, Paul, Mr. Paul Atreides. Okay, before we get into it, I'm just going to do this in the next category, but for this one, we're giving it to Maclachlan. Okay, Paul's Dreaminess. This one's a doozy. Because even though Kyle and Timothy's versions are very opposite, I enjoy both of them very much for two different reasons. I really enjoy Kyle MacLachlan's boy wonder take on Paul, because we're kind of discovering this new world as he's discovering it. He's learning these new combat skills, new information about these different planets, and like we're going along for the ride with him. And I think it helps that we have this voiceover, albeit cheesy. It's still helpful for us to really tap into his just charm and personality. So me and Timothy Chalamet have an interesting relationship, right? When he first came on the scene, there was so much hype around him and I just was not understanding it. I did not get the hype, and I'm not trying to be different
Or not like other girls.
because I watched his films so that I can participate in the hype. I just could not. But then Timothy Chalamet hosted SNL and I was a part of the clique. I understood the charm. I got the charm. So I was on board. But when it comes to his rendition of Paul, I feel like it's a more modernistic take on what a teenager would be like in being thrusted into leadership and having to go across galaxies to go to a new planet to be able to lead eventually in his life, and also all these other things that's being thrown at him. I think Timothy made some really great decisions on how he portrayed the character. There's this one scene specifically when he was in the desert and he had this we'll call him a dream, and the way that he was into it,
I loved it.
I guess dreaminess isn't the right word for this category, because if it was dreaminess, I'd give it to Kyle. But all around performance, I'm going to give it to Chalamet. Chalamet. I'm not even going to talk about this. Hans Zimmer?
Goodbye.
I'm not even going to waste your time. Chalamet. I just want to say one thing. I'm not going to talk about diversity, because if I do, I'm going to go feral, okay? I will say that I enjoy seeing all the black people in the 2021 adaptation, but that's all I'm going to say on that. Let's be honest. Lynch's adaptation was a commercial flop for a reason. This movie is camp. But it's camp. It's like too camp for the 80s camp. Between the voiceover narration by damn near lack of use of cinematography in establishing the world, the pacing. Oh my gosh, the pacing threw off my equilibrium. We were cool with the pacing in the first act. Second act, we came to a complete halt. And then the third act, we went from below sea level to 100 so quickly.
I was thrown off.
But let me be clear though. I had a good time watching this film.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
It's very enjoyable, and I think it helps that this movie doesn't take itself too seriously. I will say that the biggest difference is where each film decided to end the story. Lynch went further into the source material than Villeneuve
did.
Which is why I feel like it affected the pacing with Lynch's film, because he was trying to fit so many things in so little time. I will say, with the 2021 adaptation, Villeneuve really wanted y'all to know that Zendaya was in this movie. Yes, I think it was a collective of 10 minutes that she was in the movie. It's fine. I don't care, because I watched the first film. I realized that Chani's not really in it, but boy, when she is in it, in the scenes, there's slow-mos. She's always in frame. I love Zendaya. Now, if anybody knows me, they know I love Zendaya, and I will ride for her to the break of dawn. But dang, I didn't think we needed all the slow-mos, especially when she was already in the scene. I will say that Lynch's film is more of a sci-fi action, whereas Villeneuve's film is a sci-fi adventure. In a time where I'm used to Avengers type action, I was thrown off a bit with the low impact when it came to the action, but it actually ended up working because it gave us a breath of fresh air to not have to see all these explosions, but to be taken across a story. I love to see risk-taking filmmaking in sci-fi, where it seems like for some reason, they're just mutually exclusive. We're giving this to Villeneuve. Honestly, at this point, I don't think it's fair anymore. Wait, actually, the 1984's Dune had pretty good practical effects, especially for the 80s. I think the things that he lacked in world building with the cinematography kind of made up with the practical effects, like the costume design, the different ships and stuff. Like it honestly looked, I don't want to say real, but it looked engaging. But dog, when I saw this,
It was a wrap for me.
it also doesn't help that 2021 Dune special effects is literal perfection. Look at this. Look at this. Bask in it. Enjoy it. All in all, guys, I really enjoyed each movie for different reasons. If you're looking to have a good time and watch some old-time sci-fi that
Isn't Star Wars?
and you want a different kind of sci-fi movie for a change, I think you should give this a go. It was really entertaining, honestly. The movie just doesn't take itself seriously, which allows you to just let the foolery just slide. You just laugh it off and just enjoy the time that you're having with it. And I think 2021 Dune is just such a breath of fresh air because it is a slow burn movie. If you're looking for an action-packed Avengers, Star Wars type film, this one isn't it. This one really focuses on establishing a world and establishing people. And so there are action moments in there, but I wouldn't say this is an action movie. I would definitely say it's an adventure movie, which I really enjoyed because it had to take me out of just big blockbuster film mindset, and I really appreciate that. All right, so let's see who won. I'm not even gonna calculate. I already know that Chalamet won. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you like reviews, let me know if you want to see more of this. If not,
Keep your thoughts and prayers to yourself.
I really appreciate you supporting this channel. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions on what I should watch, let me know down in the comments. And if you appreciate my time being spent to make all of this, a subscription would be vastly appreciated. Thank you guys for your attention, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.